Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Maybe I'm Just Not Getting It. I'm your podcast host, Robert Davis. Before we get started today, just wanted to take a moment just to thank everybody that's been tuning in and listening. I appreciate the support. Follow me on social media, Instagram, RTD underscore III, Facebook, Robert Trey Davis III. Again, the podcast is on Spotify. I'll try to look to get it on some other platforms coming up in the future. But as we get midway through about the first season, again, I just wanted to take a moment to shout out and show my appreciation for everybody that's tuned in and listened, even if you just tuned in and put it on the back or you listen for 10 seconds. Like, it just, I appreciate any sort of engagement. So thank you all for that. And so with that, on today's episode, this probably will be a rather quick episode because it's more of a rant than usually I have a little bit more of a scheduled routine with these. But it's something that's kind of been on my heart lately. I ain't say on my heart, but on my mind lately. It's not on my heart because it's not that serious. And that's kind of the point of the episode is I feel like we as a society take things way too seriously now. And it's gotten out of hand, to the point to where we don't enjoy anything. I think the world has become overly kind of analytical, overly critical, overly cynical, really, if anything else. And so, I think just people kind of suck the fun out of most things. And we used to get entertainment from a lot of things. And not only did we used to get entertainment from it, we used to be able to just laugh at a joke. And I don't want to make it sound like a woke thing or nothing like that, because that's not the way I'm trying to take this conversation. But I do think that that particular element is part of it, that people don't understand how to laugh at something anymore, or how to, if they don't find something funny, let that go, you know? And I think, I use comedy as an element of this because I think it's a very identifiable and easily presentable case to make for people. But there's a variety of different ways that this conversation could go. And so, yeah, I mean, I think obviously the over analytical part of our society comes from, I think, everybody wanting to be smart. And I don't want to say that in a way of thinking that people aren't smart, but I think everybody's looking for, I think I say it like in almost a conspiracy theorist type of way. Like, everybody's looking for that deeper connection into anything and everything. And I think, that's where that over analytical standpoint comes from. I think that's where the overly critical standpoint comes from as well. I also think that, it's really a reflection. I mean, and to the point I was just saying, it's really a reflection of where we are in society. Like, with everybody looking for that deeper meaning, everybody wanting to sound smart, everybody wanting to be able to express their opinion and be praised for it for the most part. Even what I'm doing now in this podcast is me expressing my opinion and putting it out there on the internet. So technically, I guess in the sense of it, I am kind of being hypocritical here. But one thing that I think is just to point out is that I think we're a bit too easily provoked now. And again, I don't mean that in the sense of just being like, oh, woke, or oh, if you're black, you shouldn't be offended by people making fun of things that deal with black culture. And I'm not trying to take it in that particular route. I'm just saying in general, like, you could have a debate on whether bathing every day is necessary. Like, I've seen that people keep bringing that back up, and people on the internet go so hard about it, and it's like, why? Like, why is this taken so seriously? Like, either way, like, I mean, I don't think it's sanitary to not bathe every day, but if you don't, okay, and if you do, okay, let them people be nasty on their own. Like, like it. Just, I feel like we take things too far, and we forget that you don't have to. Like, we get so wrapped up in it and we forget that we don't have to. And so, like, why does this matter? I mean, I think most topics are really not worth so much mental energy that we give it. And I think that's critical for people to understand. And I know for me, a lot of times, and this is kind of dealing with just more of a general life standpoint, you do have to ask yourself, where does this fall priority ranking for you? How important is this? If this, like, will the world end? And I think when we come to a lot of the stuff, especially that we see on the internet, people go so hard about it. And I also think that it's because a lot of people don't have a lot of things going for them, and so whatever they can grab onto, they grab onto ultra hard. And I think the internet allows people access and a platform that they've never had before. And I think for a lot of people, and I think it's probably more than what I give credit to, they don't have a lot going on outside of the internet. And I mean, I know I spoke about this in an early episode about social media, so I'm not trying to hyper focus on social media for this. But I think that some people, because they go so hard about the things they talk about online or what they see online, because that's one of the only places where they feel like their opinion has any sort of weight or validity. And so, I mean, I think from a societal standpoint, we can definitely take note of that and say, well, and I think that a lot of people don't feel that serious topics involve them. And a lot of people don't feel like serious topics they have any actual say over. And so I really think that we kind of started in this weird self-sabotaging way of saying that, we kind of suck the fun out of anything and everything that's unserious or just entertainment or, to be enjoyed. And we don't really take serious, or we disregard, or we find some way to discredit everything that is a serious topic because we don't see ourselves actually being involved in that, or we don't see ourselves actually being part of that. Like, I will get on this podcast and talk about politics a lot more, but I know that, I mean, for the people that listen, I appreciate it, but I don't think y'all would sit there and listen to that. And so I try to start with, more societal type of topics. But at the same time, I wouldn't go with so hard on some of these things because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I think a lot of people have an issue with that. And so I think is, again, parts of how that kind of reflects on our society is that you see an increase in an alarmingly increasing amount of anxiety, animosity, frustration in society. And I think that's due to everything being so overly critical and overly analyzed. I think, people are, again, looking for that deeper connection to make it all make sense, or to be like, oh yeah, we got it. We got how the system is rigged, or, that this is a reflection of this larger problem, which it may or may not be. But I think that those rising levels, and it comes just from out the internet. I'll get into that later in the episode, but like those rising levels of that animosity and that frustration are really concerning and alarming in our society. And I think, until people kind of learn to just take a step back, take a breath, live, I don't like, I hate to say it like this, but back in the day, I mean, shooting the 80s and 70s and all that stuff, people was too high to be stressing but so hard. I mean, I guess back in the 80s, they were stressing too hard, too high, 60s, 70s, all that. And I mean, I think, and I can get into that in a different episode, I think drugs got a lot stronger and a lot more about being overly addictive than being high. And I think that's part of what kind of kills society in that regard, because our society's always been drug laden. But again, I'm getting off topic. That's a different episode for a different day. But we did suck the fun out of everything unserious. And we don't take seriously anything that should be taken seriously anymore. Or we find ways to try to degrade things that should be taken seriously. Things like what's going on in our political system, the Department of Education, the necessity of voting, not just at the presidential level, but actually more importantly at the local level, at the state level, at the district level, it's a district level, but I guess at the district level within your city, local government. We found ways to make, things like climate change, where you see this having a large impact on our society, on our world. Uh, well, that's been, these topics have been found ways to make jokes or make them seem like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. People just kind of let it go. But we will spend all day, every day, especially with black people. And I don't want to, again, try to make this specifically about black people, but as a black man, I'm going to talk about, my experience and what I see from that perspective, because it's from my perspective. But, we put so much energy into stupid shit like uh, relationships, and not relationship problems and how relationships go, but standards, hypothetical standards for relationships. And I'm not going to do this if it's not 50-50, or a woman needs to be X, Y, and Z if she's going to date me, or a man needs to do X, Y, and Z if he's going to date me. Like, we put too much into these type of topics that are so subjective and based upon everybody's individual situation, and we want to argue about it and get think pieces about it and debate about it. Light skin versus dark skin, and everybody's personality is overly analyzed to try to show where, how it falls into some sort of societal mishap or societal dark point. And it's really it's it's boring, first off. And it's boring, it's silly, and it's just tiring. Like, I feel like people got to be tired of not having fun and not enjoying, just the stuff that they see and not laughing about it. Like, I laugh a lot, and I try to share things and post things that are funny to me. I try to make a lot of jokes, not because I feel like I need to entertain people or anything like that, but because I like to laugh. And the way that I learn, the way that I've always learned, I grew up watching a lot of stand-up comedians and stand-up comedy because I learned through laughing. I think a lot of people do. And I think we have to find ways to reach each other in a point of happiness or a point of content compared to this point of discontent and cynicism. We share information now more than ever. Like, more than ever. Everybody is sharing their think pieces more than ever. But we are so less open to listening and to discuss, not even discussing. We're so less open to listening to other people's ideas. We're open to discussing it from the concept of a kind of a closed mind standpoint of, I'm right and this is why I'm right. But we don't really want to listen to each other. We share information, but no, we don't want to listen to it. And I just think that's something that we have to kind of think about, because it is a dangerous type of place to be in. And so, like, you may say, okay, so what are some kind of examples of that very generally? And I talked about this before. Everybody has a think piece on the internet now about every single topic for no particular reason. And it's not as much an issue that I would say for some topics, but we have a lot. And I put this, I'm going to frame this in the frame of content creators that seriously discuss unserious topics. Or all we do is or all they do is stitch, videos of people that comment their opposing positions and then make a video based upon that. I think that kind of gets back to where we're going, where everything just seems to be a continual debate of, this is why I'm right and this is why you're stupid and I can't believe you don't think this way. And I think some of this stuff is, again, just like comedy. I mean, and not even comedy, entertainment. I mean, and I think it's important for us to kind of understand to a degree. Sometimes if somebody don't agree with you, that doesn't deserve your energy. Like, okay, they don't have to. You don't have to. They don't have to live that way. You don't have to live that way. And I think we get into this concept of believing that everybody needs to think and agree with what we say, and everybody needs to think and agree with what we're doing. And if something happens on the internet that I like, everybody needs to like it the same way. And this is why. Like, it's not that serious, you know? And I think until we kind of come to a happy medium on that, because again, you have some content creators that are discussing very serious topics, and some that discuss very serious topics ad nauseum to the point of where, again, it's not really that serious. Like even serious topics, like okay, you make 5 videos about this every day, or like okay, people get tired of that, and you're not reaching anybody because nobody's listening, or it's the same people listening to you every day that already agree with you. So I think we have to find ways to laugh. I follow a lot of comedian content creators, and I can say that a lot of them I feel like are funny when they try, and a lot of them aren't trying to be funny anymore. They're just preaching their not political, they're preaching their standpoints. And their comedy is based upon they're degrading or they're talking shit about people that disagree or people that they feel like disagree with those standpoints. And it just gets the us versus them type of mentality that our society has on everything is just kind of, in my opinion, tiring. Um, I think back to what I was saying about me being, I have a love of comedy, a love of stand up comedy. I'm talking about like I've watched stand up comedians, I watched documentaries about stand up comedians, I watch people talk about how hard it is, all different levels of comedian talk about how hard it is, the tricks of the trade and everything like that. And because I really think comedy, especially comedy, is one of the most fascinating ways to reach people. And I think it's one of the most effective, memorable, and when done right, it can really be one of the most impactful things our society has ever produced. With that being said, I think nowadays, and comedy has been like this for a while, it's trying too hard. And when I say left, right, I don't mean this in a political standpoint of like liberal, conservative, or anything like that. It's going, it's either it aims too far left in the sense of we're trying to not piss off or ruffle any type of feathers, in fear of what somebody might say, in fear of what the backlash might be, in fear of what the internet may say about it, or what somebody and whatever their management may be like, hey, look, that was too far. And then on the flip side, it either goes too far right, where it's like it's overly insultive, it's overly insensitive, and insensitive comedy or overly offensive comedy used to always come from a standpoint of a reason why. I mean, even if the reason was just to make you laugh, that was the reason. But it never seemed like insensitive with a genuine purpose. I mean, with a genuine belief in that insensitivity behind it. And that's where a lot of it comes from now. And I think people see that, feel that on both sides, and they don't connect with it. And I think it's just because people take all of this stuff too seriously. I mean, if you try to make something for everyone, then no one will like it. That's the problem with going too far on the trying to get everyone, trying to do something that everybody can appreciate, everybody can enjoy, everybody will find funny, but nobody will be offended by. You can't. Comedy at its standpoint is making somebody laugh about something. And so, like, I could be like, oh, look how dumb that rock looks. If I'm a rock enthusiast, I might be offended that you think rocks look dumb. Like, there's nothing, but like at a certain point, everybody has to learn to take the joke. Just to take a joke and let it go. Or if you don't like the joke, let that go and remove yourself from that situation. Like, we have that power, and I think it's just a lot of times we don't come into it. And I think of comedians like Dave Chappelle, in my mind, used to be one of the best at being able to prove a point. And when I say prove a point, I mean to be able to, and I think if you can, to watch his stand up, it might only be like 28 minutes, about George Floyd, He also did a stand up more specifically. It was one, I think it might still be on Netflix, about the Me Too movement. It was more like where he was kind of more in like a intimate crowd, where he gets more kind of not theoretical, but he gets more he he gets more he explains more into his line of thought about things. And I think when you have like that sort of comedy has always been intriguing to me because it's people really trying to teach or express not just their opinion, but why they see the world that way and what they really are thinking, what's the deeper purposes of what they're thinking behind that. But I think, to that point, a lot of his later or more recent comedy has become more or less this kind of insensitive type of I'm picking on trans people because they picked on me type of thing. And while I get where he's coming from with that, it's not funny, at least not to me, because like it seems like, and I don't think that he has a what's the word? I don't think he has a genuine dislike of trans people or anything like that, but it comes across as such when it's just like when it comes so blatantly and so kind of seriously. And for somebody that can understand how to make a joke, why take that criticism so seriously and why not be more creative with how you can make fun of that? That would be, but then again, I don't get paid the money he gets paid and I don't write his stuff. So, that's up to him to make the jokes however he feels necessary. But I think that's one. Andrew Schultz is a big example of where I think insensitive comedy kind of is at its at its, I don't want to say at its tipping point, but where somebody they may not believe what they're saying, but their comedy is so based on just saying I can make fun of other people you know, because I can. South Park used to say I made fun of everybody and tried to teach you a lesson behind it. And I mean, even stupid shows like Drawn Together back in the day on Comedy Central would be, we make fun of everybody just for the blatant point of trying to make you laugh. While guys like Andrew Schultz get into this weird, Joe Rogans of the world and stuff, get into this weird mix of I start with this, I'm just making a joke, but then it goes into these kind of these political, these theoretical type of standpoints or talking points where it feels a lot more genuine, and then it comes back to say, but it's just a joke. And I think again, why take it so serious? Like you can kind of leave some of this shit out of it, but again, that's just me. One thing I think is a good example of people taking shit too seriously is this Drake versus Kendrick beef. I think I done seen people give a thought piece on every element of this, from light skin versus dark skin to, what is being black versus what is considered to be colonized or being fake black, to both of their personal lives or both of their faults or perceived faults as men. And even with the Super Bowl performance, all the think pieces about everything that, all the symbolism and everything that it means and how important it was. And, 3-page paper on why Serena crip walking was so satisfying. And like, I think, again, it's one of those things where we take the fun out of it and the enjoyment out of it because we over explain it and we over go through it to where, in my opinion, this was just a rap beef and we should just enjoy that for what it is. Neither rapper is going anywhere. Both are going to be, people are fighting, oh, Drake is cooked, no, Kendrick ain't gonna be hot no more, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a rap beef. Just enjoy it. They're both going to still continue to make music. You're not personally affected by this. You're not in their camps. Just enjoy the music. Enjoy the performance. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Cool. If you do like it, you do like it. Cool. But like, we don't have to make everything out into a heated debate because of it. But I think also, again, back to, I think a lot of people don't have a lot going on outside of the media that they consume or the stuff that they consume. And that's kind of a reflection of it. I mean, and to expand to that point, I think movies, TV, media, we overanalyze a lot of that instead of just taking it for what it is. We overanalyze interviews that people do, and we try to break down everything they said and everything they mean by that. TV shows, scenes, or a joke, or a dialogue that may happen or may not happen. Tweets that people put out, or videos, Instagram video lives, whatever. We go so hard on trying to analyze and be critical or cynical of everything that people do online. I mean, it used to just be celebrities, but it could be anybody now. And I get it because, again, everybody has a voice like they never had, so everybody wants to be heard like they never was. But we have taken the enjoyment out of just saying, oh, this is on TV. It was funny to me. I don't need to go write a think piece about why this was funny to me and what it pointed out that was funny to me and why other people should find it funny. If I was offended by something that a TV host said, I can just leave that where it is. Or, but nowadays we kind of just go to the internet, drag it out, and it just kind of turns it into this, like, my goodness, like, now I don't want to say complaining, but it is almost like complaining to a degree. I think part of what built that, in my opinion, was the rise of the debate shows. Like, I really feel like stuff like First Take killed a lot of culture for me. Because, first off, it's subjective. Second off, it's a lot of it is irrelevant, and it causes so many conversations, in-depth conversations about irrelevant topics. Like, why is Stephen A. talking about, oh, if I wouldn't date Serena if she was crip walking at the Super Bowl and that was in reference to one of her ex-boyfriends? Why does it matter? Like, really, like, why? Like, the shit's over with. Why does it matter one way or the other? Like, whether you think that was a good look for her or not. Okay, it's a fucking crip walk on a damn Super Bowl. Oh, the, like, people are arguing, oh, yeah, was the Super Bowl performance revolutionary? I mean, as a black man, I'm proud to see a black man doing well, and him to do a performance that's filled with black people, especially black men, representing black men during Black History Month. At the same time, you got a performance. I mean, it's a Super Bowl concert at one of the most highly commercialized events in the world each year. That's literally the opposite of the stage of any revolution. Like, so just enjoy it for what it is. I mean, I think, the debate culture, to bring it back to like the shows, First Take and all, I mean, I think instead of, I don't want to get too in depth into sports stuff, but we don't take stuff like LeBron for what it is. A guy that's been in the league since he was 18, comes from a single parent home, has stayed out of trouble his entire career, has built a billionaire brand for himself, has been a model teammate, whether you talk about the trades or not. Like, players talk highly of him. He's been a model teammate, a model citizen, a role model for many kids, especially black kids, black boys all over the world. And so just take that for what it is. But people debate, his legacy and his impact. And like, why are we so serious about that? Who cares if he is better than Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant? He can't, I mean, he played against Kobe to a degree, but you can't tangibly measure these things. You can't tangibly go back and be like, oh yeah, well, let's put them against each other and see which one is better. So why does it matter? And I think a lot of these shows stress topics that don't matter so much. I mean, and I say the debate culture goes into the internet. I go back to the relationship type of stuff. We talk about, oh well, is women supposed to be doing this or men supposed to be doing this? When that's up to you to decide. What you will or will not put up with, or what you are and are not looking for, and it doesn't have to be a debate about it. It doesn't have to be a topic about it. Why make it so serious and just take the enjoyment out of, I guess, I don't want to say take the enjoyment out of this concept, but beat a dead horse into the ground and kind of become this cynical type of person where you keep hearing, oh, women aren't going to do this and I'm not going to do this because they're not. When you're just talking to random people on the internet, and you may meet somebody that may do that stuff. You may not, but that's not has nothing to do with what you're actually online discussing. And that goes, I mean, that's just my point, is that I feel like we beat stuff into the ground and we take things too seriously instead of just taking life for what it is, taking people for what they are, leaving things we don't like where they're at, and taking things that we like with us. But, I think that's just what it is. And I think that in a real life example of where we see that aggression, all that, I believe it builds, that all this cynicism and all this animosity kind of builds in people. And I think we see that when it comes to these random type of acts of aggression and violence, the increase in like road rage violence, because people are walking around carrying so much pent up shit in them. And I feel like we all have to find a way to just, through one way or the other, de-stress that shit, because it's killing us and it's making us ultra angry and unable to communicate with each other and evil, really. And so, that's my main concern. But I think people treat topics, especially in pop culture, as like lines in the sand worth dying and fighting over, which I never understood. Like this, whether you like Patrick Mahomes or not, or whether you think he is a quote unquote black man or not, isn't something that people should be fighting over the internet about. Whether, what silly thing, I think Donald Trump should be discussed in seriousness a lot more than what he is in serious parts of his administration. But him saying some stupid shit like, oh, we're going to change the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, and us having debates about why that's wrong. Like, what does it matter? It's a name on a map. Like, they don't mean shit. And I just think that we have to find ways to take ourselves out of kind of that blinding, like blinders type of shit that we're on. Because we become jaded and bitter towards everything and unable to enjoy anything. And I think that's because people are pessimistic about society. I think people are pessimistic about not just society, but pessimistic about their role models and those that they looked up to in society. And I think people are pessimistic about how the world works. And I understand where a lot of that pessimism comes from. But if we can't just be downing on everything and so serious about everything and wanting to take everything to the umpteenth degree and not be able to just at some point laugh with each other. And I think back to what I was saying earlier, I think people are really unable to enjoy something that they like and leave it at that without feeling the need to kind of opinionate further on it. And I'm going to use now I was going to use the Super Bowl performance for this, but because I think I saw, because I did see a lot of dialogue about the deeper meanings of it, which I don't think was all that necessary. But I think because people feel the need to opinionate on what they like so hard, that that was a result of that. And on the flip side, people are unable to ignore things that they dislike without feeling the need to share their opinion on it. And I think that's a little bit more damaging or more harmful to our society, because I get people are always going to talk about things they like. And I think we don't have to beat a dead horse into the ground. Like if you don't like LeBron, I mean, if you like LeBron, you might sit there and say, well, I like LeBron because he's number one in points all time scored. I think it might be number one in all time minutes played. He's been to the finals so and so many times. He won 4 rings, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's more damaging when people are unable to just be like, yeah, that's not my cup of tea. But now I got to get on the internet and tell y'all why that's not my cup of tea, and tell y'all why y'all are wrong for thinking that's your cup of tea. Like, it's not that serious. It really isn't. Like, what do we gain from trying to shit on each other's dreams and shit on each other's likes and dislikes so much, and trying to make everybody agree with us and think that we're the smartest person in the room? We gain nothing from it because no one really cares. And so, just in conclusion, like, we beat every topic into the ground. I've said that many times. I've beaten this topic into the ground, you know. And just because something is debatable does not mean that it's important or worthy of being debated. I think we have to. A lot of reasons why people are so tired and burnt out is they put so much energy and so much mental effort into shit that they don't need to. And if we would find what matters to us and put our energy into that and leave the silly shit alone, leave the silly shit in the box of of just enjoying it as silly shit, then we would be in a much better place. And I think that, in the risk of sounding like an old person, but I mean, I do believe this, that, like, this world will suck the life out of you. And if you don't find a way to enjoy it, to laugh, lighten up, and not appreciate, but just find a way to be okay with what's going on around you and not feel like you have to fight every battle, or feel like that these things mean so much when they don't, then you're going to be in a bad spot and you're not going to enjoy life at all, because you're going to be focused on a bunch of stupid shit that, when you're dead and gone, will not matter and will be replaced by other stupid shit that people continue to argue over. So that's all, that I wanted to get off my mind with that. I appreciate you all listening and tuning in. Again, thank you for tuning into the maybe I'm just not getting it podcast. I'm your host, Robert Davis. Follow me on social media, Instagram _RTD. No, sorry. Instagram RTD _III. Facebook, Robert Trey Davis III. Listen to the podcast on Spotify. I'll try to put it out on some other channels soon. I appreciate you all. Please don't take life too seriously, because when we're all dead and gone, none of this shit matters anyway. So, love y'all. Peace out. God bless.